Just doing a sound check. How's that? It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood this morning. Lovely to see you all. Today we'll be working with the second foundation of mindfulness during our meditation and inviting you throughout the day to work with that. Vedana, Vedna, also known as feeling tone, sometimes just feelings. And so this is the pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral, or neither pleasant or unpleasant feeling that accompanies each moment of experience. So during our meditation today, we will be working with noting that. And one of the amazing things about Vedana is that we can note a general pervading sense of pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral, or we can do Vedana upon contact. So hearing pleasant, hearing unpleasant, feeling pleasant, unpleasant, the sensation of touch. So we can do it on the immediate moment to moment changing nature of phenomena. Or when you get caught in something and your mind is spinning, if you have the moment of being like, oh, unpleasant, and returning, or pleasant. And so the practice of Vedana is really a powerful practice to unhook us from pleasant that leads us to the craving or the unpleasant that pushes away. And I wanted to start with this quote, which, while it's not particularly about Vedana, I think it speaks to the power of this. And this quote is from Viktor Frankl, who is a psychologist, neurologist, author, and a Holocaust survivor. And he says, between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power and freedom to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our happiness. Between stimulus and response, there is a space. So sometimes if we have that space, we can see, oh, pleasant, my mind is inclining, or unpleasant, my mind is kind of leaning back, or the body even. So between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power and freedom to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our happiness. So you're invited to begin your practice of coming into the body in the way that you've been doing, that brings about clarity and gathering of the body. Inviting as much as possible a sense of kind, loving awareness to this moment. No need to push anything away. Being with the one who is here just as it is. Feeling into the body the way we've been practicing. During our meditation on Vedana, I'll invite you to bring your awareness to different parts of the body, different sensory experiences, checking in to see the feeling tone, the quality of the awareness, what is happening now. In hearing sounds, there's an opportunity for us, if the sound is short and quick, to hone in on the immediate moment to moment changing Vedana. A gentle noting, pleasant, unpleasant, neither pleasant nor unpleasant, and the corresponding sensations in the body. How is it now? Also noting the transitory nature of that experience. As we hear a sound, see if it's possible to let go of the concept, what is making the sound, and to be with the experience of the sound as it arises and passes away, noting pleasant, unpleasant, or neither pleasant nor unpleasant. As we tune in to this moment to moment changing landscape of our loving awareness, we can also begin to notice the spaces between the sounds. They arise and pass away. Now bringing the awareness into the body, focusing the attention, if possible, on where the body is touching the earth. Perhaps the buttocks on the chair, or the cushion, or on the mat. And as you draw your awareness to the weight of the body, just gently dropping the question, how is it now for that particular sensation? Pleasant, unpleasant, neutral. And paying attention to the changing sensations, the changing Vedana. And allowing your awareness to have a more spacious, broad connection to the body. Connecting to see if there's anywhere in the body that may be feeling pleasant. Connecting with any sensation of pleasant that may be arising in the body. Perhaps in the heart area, the top of the head, the hands, the back, the knees, the elbows, wherever it is for you. You may notice as you connect to the pleasant that it stays pleasant, or changes and shifts to unpleasant or neutral. As you begin to feel these sensations of pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral in the body, you can notice the accompanying sensations in the body. And then there may be thoughts that arise, emotions that arise. Connecting with an unpleasant sensation in the body, you may feel contraction in another part of the body. And then there may be the thought of fear, worry, anxiety. That may be unpleasant as well. Beginning to see this relationship between a sensation in the body, a felt sense in the body, and the arising of an emotion or a thought. And as much as possible, holding this experience with tender, loving awareness. Using Vedana, there's a possibility of unentangling from the hooks of liking and not liking, with a gentle knowing of pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. There's a possibility of disidentifying, letting go of the personal preferences to create the world according to our likes and dislikes. During this meditation, you're invited to play with this Vedana, feeling tone, allowing the pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral sensations in the body to be known. Knowing the Vedana of sounds. Sensing into the Vedana of thoughts, mental fabrications. And if the mind is getting tight and caught and thinking and analyzing, returning to your anchor, broad awareness, steadying, gathering, unifying, dropping into the body just as it is. How is it now? How is it now? As we begin the noting of Vedana, there may be accompanying thoughts in the mind that when pleasant experiences are noticed, the accompanying judgment of good, oh, good. That's just a thought. Pleasant is not indicating progress. Unpleasant doesn't indicate progress. Both are sensations of the feeling tone, this characteristic that accompanies each moment. Noting the pleasant allows us to see, feel into how we might get hooked. And the craving and clinging and wanting. Noting unpleasant allows us to feel, see, understand directly in the body how the feelings of aversion, pushing away, contracting may accompany the experience of unpleasant. And when the thoughts and emotions arise, noting them as well, pleasant, unpleasant, neither pleasant nor unpleasant. I encourage you to practice with Vedana today. I have just found it to be such an incredible way of allowing the mind to really hone in on how this aspect of pleasant or unpleasant then hooks and drags the whole unfolding of the stories and drama. And when I can notice that it's pleasant or unpleasant, then I can begin to see and untangle the little pieces and be here. And one of the things I want to caution is that sometimes people will take this into being that like, oh, I shouldn't feel pleasant. Oh, I shouldn't feel unpleasant. I should just be this flatness, non-reactive mind. And that's not what we're going for. So, like the flat line in a hospital, that's not, life has ups and downs and ups and downs, and we're going to experience all the ups, the middle, maybe pause a little for a second, down, up, pause a little bit, so if you've seen that, maybe, so it's not that we're going for it just to be, so when it's pleasant, wow, the sound of a bird, the light beam, that initial taste of whatever that food is, and then, you start eating it, then it changes. It's not so pleasant anymore. And, you're like trying to do it mindfully, and you're like, when can I swallow? This really isn't fun anymore. But, you're noticing that the changing nature of phenomena, how it changes. And so it's not to get it right. It's not, because something that's pleasant for one person might be unpleasant for another. So it's not the getting, oh, I figured it out, like a multiple choice test. It's not that. It's really just using this pointer to understand and unhook us from that second part, which we then want more, or we don't want it. And so this can be this place of figuring out what is happening in the body. So I hope you have fun with that today. We have some announcements. And, excuse me, I forgot to take. Okay, it is Sunday. We will formally offer the 8 precepts. So we have offered the 5 precepts last week, and we'll offer the 8 precepts tomorrow morning during this time. So we'll be chanting the 8 precepts. We'll have that chant available. And there is a sign up on the board in the dining hall. Some of you may have already put your name there, and that is for the cooks to know. Because as we mentioned, one of the things that goes along with the 8 precepts is they're allowables. And so there'll be a plate with allowables put out. And the cooks will give you those, so you don't need to really know what they are. But, there's the things that I mentioned that are available, the juice, ginger, cheese, chocolate, medicinal chocolate. Did you feel any pleasant or unpleasant there? Yes. Plant medicine includes, all of the food. Some people think of it as medicinal, right? Our food can be medicine. So the sign up is on the board in the dining room. And if you change your mind, if you sign up and you do it for a week and you realize that it's not working for your constitution, you can cross your name off to let the cooks know that, so they can adjust and they'll know how much to put out. The other announcement is that May will be sitting in with me today, so I'll be asking the people who I'm with if it's up all right, and you'll be able to let me know whether you're willing to have another person in there, to have May joining us today. Okay, so
the 8 precepts are optional.
Oh, yes, the 8 precepts are optional. It's not required to have the 8 precepts. It's an opportunity to practice in the way that the monastics practice, where the Buddha encouraged us not to have food after mealtime. So it's not necessary, and it's something to practice with. So don't feel obligated. There's many reasons to do it. There's many reasons not to. So it's part of your own practices. If you have any questions, you could talk to one of the teachers who you're working with. It's great exploration. Okay. Okay, so we have some time for questions, reflections on the practice.
So I think you said this, but it's so novel and worked so well. I just want to make sure that, because nobody had ever mentioned doing Vedanas on thoughts. So my mind wandered, and then I remembered, and I thought, oh, it's because it's pleasant. It makes me, that particular whole vignette I was going through made me look kind of artsy and, experimental or whatever. And so, but then the last crucial step was, oh, and that's not necessarily true. That one little incident, that's why I'm grabbing at it to try to reinforce it, because I'm a little insecure that it might not be true. And it really brought a breath of fresh air. So was that right?
Right? Is that right?
Yes, I confess I still think about that.
Yeah, no, but just like the sense of part of, oh goodness.
Because part of it is it involved a little more thinking. Instead of immediately dropping it and going back to the breath, I had to work with it a little bit.
Yeah. So one of the things that happens is, oh goodness, when I can't do all of these things. One of the things that happens is that it's both beautiful and kind of really holy moly to really get close to the mind, and so like really gets like, is this right? Is it wrong? Is it true? Is it not true? And we will get different answers from different parts of our, this whole body, mind, heart experience. The heart may say like, oh yeah, I can feel that. And then the mind up here is like James was talking about, kind of the, some sitting on your shoulder being like telling you something, that from another analytical, like, no, that can't be true. So, and then the gut, so there's this whole constellation that we have this opportunity to get close to. And I didn't mean to push you around, wrong or not, but the minute that we have the comparing mind come, that to me has been like one of the things that Krishnamurti, who's an Indian philosopher, said was like, comparing brings suffering. End of story. And so that's like when I would start comparing, I'd just be comparing brings suffering. So I know that's not the way to go. So when I think right or wrong, I'm kind of like, boom, okay, that's, what else can I do here? Let's see, what other information do I have? What is trustworthy? So that's a really beautiful exploration of, what is trustworthy. And it's really important that as we meet the comparing mind, which is so useful because, we have discernment, which is different than judgment. It's it's not that we're just like, woo, everything's great, it's still this discernment. And so that is something that comes around wise reflection, wise intention, all of these ways that we're directing ourselves. So I'm not sure if I'm answering your question, but please.
Yeah, yeah. And just the last piece of it was my baby understanding of watching myself construct a self. That, if I have the more memories, incidents where I'm good compared to the ones where I'm bad, then I'm a good person.
I just have to say, I'm having a really hard time with this. So I missed half of what you said, and I'm sorry.
I was talking about watching myself construct an idea of self that is like good enough to pass by adding up all these little memories on the good side and versus all the little memories on the bad side.
Yeah. That's what we do, construct this self. There's that beautiful passage from the Buddha about, house builder, you've been seen. We are building up this house. That's a lot of, and that's where I think it's really important to see that the signposts of pleasant doesn't mean, I'm going the right way. It just means it's pleasant. So, thank you.
Good morning. Can you say something about the concept of indulging in sleep? And what, the connection to our practice?
Thank you. Indulging in sleep. Yes, I have experience in that area. So I think I'm qualified. One of my teachers, Eric Kolvig, gave this framework that I found very useful, and he said that there's this continuum between self-denial and self-indulgence, and so each of us has different ways that we have been conditioned towards self-denial or self-indulgence, and so for all of us, the middle of that middle path is different. And so it really is taking something and figuring out, okay, what is true here? So for example, if you're sleepy, how do I know? Is this sloth and torpor or am I sleepy? And so having this curious mind, non-judgmental awareness of being like, well, let me try these different things. Let me stand up in the hall. Let me try to arouse curiosity, all of these things. And, bringing about all of these ways of like, let me try to be here. I'll go for a fast walk. Like all of the different antidotes that we can bring in and then be like, well, let me try sleeping, then lying down and being like, I'm like out. I really needed to sleep. Or you go in and you lie down and you're like, not sleepy. And so then that gives you indication. So it's beginning to have this relationship to the body that it's like, what does the body need? Like, how do I care for this animal being that Temple was saying? So kind of figuring out our self-denial, self-indulgence around sleep is, the care and feeding of the body. One of the things that has happened for many people, including myself during retreat, is I need less sleep. And so that my concept about like I need to get this not many hours of sleep is not always true on retreat. And so that's something to play with. And so one of the things that I've done to calm the mind, be like, well, okay, you're awake. It's, 4 a.m. If you get sleepy later on, you can take the body for a nap, so we're not abandoning care. We're relating to what the body needs. I don't know if that makes sense.
Did Dawn say that not indulging in sleep is one of the precepts? Or are we being asked to renunciate something here?
Not indulging sleep is what?
Is that one of the precepts?
Oh, the precept has to do with the bed.
Oh,
So, yeah. So if you've practiced in some of the monasteries, like you literally get like a board, maybe a thin mat, so that sense of, so that you can't just go to your kuti and be like, woohoo, on your mattress. So, yeah.
I'm definitely experiencing positive because I thought I was signing up to give up sleep.
That's a different practice, but that can be a beneficial practice as well. So thank you for clarification. Okay, so I'm looking at the time, and we have, as you notice, there's Temple and I will be offering practice meetings today, and Don and James and Tueri will not be. So really inviting you into noticing the quality of pleasant, unpleasant, neither, which is the harder one. But you might notice that one by noticing when pleasant abates, that there may be a neither in there. And so that noticing neither is actually a really good place to then move into the sense of resting in contentment of the not wanting. So, and then also noticing if the mind gets too engaged in the analytical thinking, that really kind of coming back to the body, heart, mind. Thank you so much for your practice.
Thank you for listening. To learn how you can support the teachers and Dharma Seed, please visit dharmaseed.org/donate.